our borders. His name is Rudy, and he joins us live now. Rudy, hello, welcome to the show.
How you doing? I'm doing fine. I had a bit
Excellent.
of a
Yeah,
chat with you beforehand on what we're going to talk about. As you said, I actually came in here not knowing. I had a couple of topics, but that seems to be blocked at the moment since Oracle bought TikTok and uh, well, bought over portions of TikTok in America. And there's some Zionists that have invested in stuff like that. So yeah. So the stuff that I talk about usually is more out of South African borders. I must admit,
yeah.
I've for the past 2 3 months I've been trying to catch up again on South African news. Um, I quite liked is it Pinal? What's his name? Um,
I
he
don't know.
was with is it Rob Hurst?
I heard
On
so. Yeah.
a couple of podcasts.
Oh,
But Pinel,
pinball.
yeah.
I hear.
Then I got a dislike. Then I got a dislike in him because of the question. I think there's this Rastafarian DJ that they had the one chat with, and they were telling him to sort of tell what's the Starlink guy to Elon Musk to pull back his tweet and stuff like that, and but they weren't willing to condemn Julius Malema for singing. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the
Of course you
phrases
are.
that he sings, but so that's my journey back into South African politics. Basically, probably Rob Hurst, big Biz News started was it that started popping up, and then obviously I was following you when you started off as a French person speaking in South African topics where I was I was too scared to talk about the things happening around me because of obviously job security, family,
Sure.
stuff like that. I must say I'm a bit of a prepper. I've got like my little vine key over there at the back. I got my off-road vehicle, so and it's all packed the whole time. So if something happens, then I'm going to the bushveld or something.
So I talk about prepping. I thought I was a prepper because I'm like basically off grid. I've got two 4x4s. I've got safes. I got food, and then I went to my friend's house. This guy has a bunker, like underground, reinforced concrete, another generator, another inverter, a separate water supply. I'm like so far behind. So I
Yeah,
got quite envious. I was like, I thought I was ready. This guy's like way more ready.
yeah, no, well, I haven't gone that bad. I mean, I've got like two panels on the bush lapa that I have, and so uh, that's not gonna last me very long. Two
Yeah.
batteries and two panels, but it's fully kitted out. So we keep some clothes in there. And it might sound stupid to people and especially your overseas listeners, because there's this whole I think negativity around preppers in America, especially because they tend to come from the weirdest parts of America and they kind of weird, freaky out people. And South Africa, we had the Suidlanders, which people also sort of freaked out, and they were called Nazis and those kinds of things. But I mean, being prepared is like having 6 months salary in case you lose your job. I mean, that's something that's the norm. Having a medical aid in case something happens, having insurance, that's all things that's like uh, that we've accepted as a norm in society. And Now we're sitting in a situation where we judge people who put a packet of seeds inside of a little wagon with a couple of you know panties and and shirts and shoes and stuff like that. So yeah, don't own a gun.
Yeah,
So
you don't.
that's
Or
I'm sort of anti-gun. I've shot twice in my life. Didn't like it. So I'll rather do the other stuff, the hard labor.
So before we started, you actually wanted to ask me a few questions. So I'm
Yes.
very happy to do that. I'm very happy to
Okay.
answer questions from my guests. I always tell guests, come on the show, let's have a discussion, disagree with me, and then everyone ends up agreeing with me for some reason. Not because I think I'm persuasive, but I think it's people are not used to being on camera or having a conversation with a stranger. So I'll leave you to it. Ask me whatever you want, and I'm happy to answer anything you have.
Okay. So the questions I want to ask you is basically around your journey into YouTube, because there's a lot of guys on TikTok, but YouTube's now come with the shorts and they've come with all these kinds of things. We discussed monetization, and or not monetization, but the amount of money that you can make on social media. And as you know, there's region, or countries that obviously, if the views come from that countries, you get more per thousand views and stuff like that. So,
Hmm.
talking about South Africa the whole time, haven't you thought of, because I know Australia and Germany at one stage actually paid out more than what American audiences paid out. And on my YouTube channel, probably 60% of them were American. And, when I was still, when Parler was still around before it got bought out and shut down, I had a huge following on that. And that was conservative Americans mainly. So your choice of topics and just why you got into it.
Um, I never do things with a plan. I just follow my intuition and do it. So in I had that podcast, Renegade Report, with Jonathan Witt,
Yeah.
and that was my first foray into being a content creator, or a pod bro, as News 24 likes to call it, before they started their own podcast, by the way. And
Yeah.
through Renegade Report, it really allowed me to change my views on so many things, because you're just speaking to someone new every single week, right? And it could be a politician, a business person, someone from overseas. We spoke to Jordan Peterson twice before he got really big.
Mm,
And I really enjoyed it because it made me think a lot about things that I thought of before, and about these sort of new ideas that people
mm,
introduced to the conversations when we recorded them. And you figure out that the network effect back then was, okay, I can call Jordan Peterson and say, listen, I really want to speak on a phone call with you. And he probably would never answer. But he said, come into my podcast. I was like, yeah, I'll come into your podcast. So it was that intuition that told me, okay, the podcast, the Ringget Report, we closed it in 2020. Jonathan was going full time into medicine and we just couldn't carry on. And then I thought, I really enjoyed doing this stuff. So what can I do? And then I read a book called Atomic Habits in December of 2019. And Atomic Habits basically says, it tells you how to create habits, right? And it's actually a very good book. It's the only book that actually, in modern times, that shouldn't be a blog post. That actually was very, very well written, very well done, easy to understand, and gave you critical, important steps to follow
mm,
that makes your life better. And you find out that your identity is actually a result of the habits you have, not the other way around. So athletes are not great because they're athletes. They are great because their habits make them the athletes that they want to be. And I read that and I thought, okay, what new habit do I want to pick up going into the new year? And I said, well, I want to have a daily YouTube show talking about news because back then I didn't like mainstream media. I thought that they were talking nonsense for the most part. So I started that in January of 2020. And then, hey presto, March comes around, everyone's in lockdown. Great timing. And then the show
Oh,
like just soared from there. And I
yeah.
did that for, well, right until last year when I was employed to become chief of staff. So I did it for 4.5 years, almost 5 years.
Mm.
Enjoyed most of it. But that's really it. There's no great plan with me. I never have great plans. I just do stuff. And it worked out in that regard.
Well, what I do like is the fact that you give other people the option, normal people like me, if I can call myself normal. But I mean, you give other people the opportunity that isn't used to content creating. Look, I think I'm a bit more used to this than other people because I've had some exposure and stuff like that to it. So, but I watched a couple of the guys that were very nervous to come on your show and so on. But they had some very valid points and some very valid questions that like you say, make you think about it. And
Hmm.
what do you read a lot?
I used to. I used to read very often, and I used to read about 2, 3 books a month. But now
Yeah,
that I've children and I'm undergoing a renovation, I'm just been too busy. The past year has been terrible for my reading, but I used to read quite a
yeah,
lot. Yes.
yeah. So I've got a bit of a ADHD problem. So my news I pick up is basically from. So I did my BA. I finished my BA honors degree in about 3 years back. Basically, when I sort of stopped. That's when I sort of stopped doing the YouTube thing as well. Um, so I decided I was a late bloomer. There wasn't any money for studies, so I did it. I did it via work, and yeah, I could read like uh, uh, a doctorate or something like that, and but I can't read a book. My attention span's is too small for it. So a lot of the information that I do get is from YouTube and from YouTubers, and obviously you don't look at the left, you look at the right, or you find people that have a view on both sides, or sorry if there's a bit of noise in the back here.
Not to worry.
There's uh, yeah, parents-in-law fighting. I think my mother-in-law is gonna beat him. Yeah. But yes, so for me, that's where I get most of my news. So um, watching Fox News or CNN or MSNBC or whatever um, would have basically made me one of these liberal people with pink hair and or green hair. I shouldn't say pink hair. My wife's got a stripe of purple
Oh,
in her hair, so
and the truth comes out.
I should maybe just leave that bit out. Yeah, you can't cut. It's live. Shit.
It
No,
is
we got a
live, yeah.
problem there. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, the other kind of things is like the topics. I mean, it's like last week I I screwed up the calendar, so I booked last week and this week, and last week I was popping onto your channel or the link the whole time trying to get onto, and I couldn't understand why. So I'm not good at keeping track of my days. So I think I've lost a lot of years um, in South Africa just working and working. So getting into podcasting again, would you recommend it? And for the younger viewers, I mean, to give an idea, my daughter is 1.5 meters tall, um, and her boyfriend is like 2 meters and 2,03 centimeters. So I
Mhm.
mean, when he comes in the door, he has to like go down and whatever. And she made a YouTube clip with her twirling him around, basically holding him, and she was actually holding him. So, and she was twirling him around, and this thing went viral on TikTok and got like 9.5 million views, 1.5 million likes, and she had like 240 odd followers. So, it happens just like this, and something goes viral. So. Um, what advice have you got for young people? What platforms should they be looking at? And because obviously you do a little bit of research. So and obviously from a marketing perspective, what do you do to market your channel and so forth?
So I don't do any marketing whatsoever. I don't spend any money on advertising. Um, and I don't really go on other platforms that much. I mean, I do have a few clips on sort of Instagram and things, but uh, I'm a lazy bastard. I prefer just to do YouTube. It's simpler for me and it's much easier for me. I recommend everyone is the niche. People keep saying in content creation, pick a niche, double down on the niche. Like what is the topic? What do you want to be known for? So I'm known for South African news, which is actually a curse because if I create
Yeah,
something outside of South African news, no one watches it. And no one in America is watching South African news. No one in Australia is watching South African news. So my audience is basically South African. And the limitations on that is that advertising rates are very low.
mm,
There's no corporate sponsorships. There's very little money in it. There's almost no money. I actually made a video on Morning Shot where I went through my entire annual revenue for the YouTube channel. I mean, it was millions and millions of views, and I got 140,000 rand for the year. Nothing to scoff at, right? But this is minimum wage in essence. Um, Maybe
yeah,
not, but you know what I mean.
uh,
It's 10 grand a month, which is fine,
yeah.
but it's not something I did for the money because there is
Yeah,
none,
well,
right?
what's 8,000 some odd rand is the minimum wage. 8,400 rand or something.
Yeah,
It's minimum wage. So you lucky, buddy. You got paid more.
yeah, for many more hours than the average minimum wage worker, that's for sure.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if you do this sort of thing, never do it for the money, do it for fun, and hopefully the money follows. I haven't cracked that code. I'm not too sure how people actually make money on here. I know for a fact that if I was in America or if I was in France or Australia, I would be paid 4 times the revenue. So I could make 500,000 rand a year. Then it starts getting
yeah.
a bit interesting just from ad revenue. And then there could be sponsorships involved. I look at these other guys in the UK. I actually saw one yesterday. He's got 112,000 subscribers. He makes close to £500,000 a year from sponsorships on his videos.
Shit.
You know,
But he's
Morning
probably
Shot
got long
now.
form content. He's probably
No,
got
no,
long
no. It's all
form content,
business.
hasn't
10 minutes. 10 minutes of business stuff.
he?
He's
Is
a
it?
he's a very good, he's called James Sinclair. He's actually very good at business. But
Okay.
Byron, who runs Morning Shot now, has got close to 150,000 subscribers. And I
Mm.
get along with him very well. And I call him up all the time. Like, have you had like sponsorship offers? He's like, no, like no one
But he's
cares
in the
to
UK the whole
sponsor.
time.
No, no,
If I'm
no, he's here. He's here. He's here 90% of
wasn't
the
he
time.
building a house or renovating a house in the UK or something like that
Yeah, I
at
think
one stage?
he goes every 3 months for a week or two, but no, he hates the UK. He lives here.
Is it?
But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, so you can grow a huge channel, have millions of views, but there's no cash, like real money, like
Mm.
money that you can build wealth on. And that is the essential problem. So I think people do it. If you want to do it for the fun, do it because you want to do it. Don't do it because you think it's going to make you money or make you rich, because it really won't.
Yeah, what I do find is a lot of comedians overseas. Uh, well, I don't know if you can call Katie Hopkins a comedian. She's very controversial, but she is very funny to me. She's got sort of a dark humor. But if you look at all the other guys, Joe Rogan, all, Dave Smith, all these guys, they all have their shows, and they comedians basically, and they started into politics, so which is kind of a weird dynamic. Uh, but the guy from Morning Shot, isn't he an attorney or something like that?
Yeah, I think he studied law. Yeah, Byron.
Yeah, so he's probably got a day job. Yeah, and you too. You got a day job as well.
Well,
We
not
all have
anymore.
day jobs. Hey,
Not
not
anymore, my friend.
anymore.
You should
What
use
is
it
it?
use more often.
Well, then you need to do some marketing, buddy. Get off your ass and do some long form content, and
Nah, I'm
get
busy
get
with a few
get
projects,
promoted.
like a court case. So that's coming up soon.
What is it?
But yeah, to answer your question, do this because it's fun, not because you want to make money, and hopefully it translates to money at a later stage. But South Africa is just too far behind, too backwards. There's no ecosystem for funding these things. You go to America, you get 10,000 views on something, and then someone wants to sponsor it. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Here, the economy is too concentrated into corporates who want to be BE and gay friendly and all that shit. And they'll sponsor any black person that has 100,000 views on a TikTok for something stupid, but they will never sponsor anyone
Oh,
else.
my
So
God, talking about politics.
forget about it. Yeah. No, but it's true though. Like, forget about it. Like, you're not going to make money here in a material way.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is actually strange, because we have a lot of stuff happening over here. I mean, I was having I wouldn't say an argument, but I was having a discussion with a guy on Twitter, and he was like, "Yeah, it's black and white in South Africa," and I'm like, "No, dude, you have no idea of the makeup of the country, how many
Mm.
tribes there are, and you're talking about things that happened in the past. Do you know that the IFP and the ANC had wars where I think about 4,000 people died that they killed. I'm not certain about the numbers, so don't quote me on that.
It's
Anybody can
25,000.
face check it. Was it 25,000? Shit, that was a
Yeah.
lot.
And that's
And then,
conservative.
yeah, and then I mean, we sit with situations where, you know, um, I said to the one guy that Jewish people look down on Afrikaans people, but your original English people over here, which are a majority more than what your Jewish people, and that's my little bit of interaction with Jewish people, which is like 10 people, and I have family that's Jewish and so on. But
Hmm.
if you look at your normal English guys that live in the southern suburbs and they also look down on Afrikaans speaking people, so, and that is a real interaction that I have, and working in the southern suburbs, I mean, I have that on a daily basis. A lot of them don't even understand Afrikaans and can't even speak Afrikaans, which is fucking ridiculous to me. I mean, you're French and you can actually you can actually say some stuff in Afrikaans. You'll probably say
Ek
all the swear
verstaan,
words.
Rudy. Yeah, and don't get me started. I know those are my favorite words. No,
Well,
but I
that's it.
understand Afrikaans well. I grew up in an Afrikaans area in the south of Johannesburg,
Okay.
so all my
Oh,
neighbors were Afrikaans. So yeah, you have to learn the
okay.
lingo, otherwise no one talks to you.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to. Yeah. So, yeah.
But
What else?
aren't you finding that so the Jews that I know up here, I get along very well with Jews. I'm not one of these people that are like Jews rule the world or whatever. But the Jews up here are starting to speak to Afrikaners more and more to try sort of learn from them because there's almost a shared psychology
Mm.
where I mean the Jews have been persecuted for thousands of years. Afrikaners perceived to be persecuted for a few decades now, rightly so, without getting to victimhood. But I'm starting to find that they're talking more often with each other and trying to learn from each other's experiences. I don't know if you've seen that, but
Well,
maybe not.
Mandela was he wasn't a big fan of the Jews because they were helping the apartheid era. I mean, they were supporters of the apartheid era. Well, I actually found that out last week or something like that on a podcast or so of somebody that I was listening to. And yeah, so we've always, I think somebody said in Oranje, they actually came over and taught them how to grow these small little tomatoes or something like that. And there was a guy that came from Israel and taught them how to grow this, and so I do think that there is this there is there is a shared bond between uh, Jews. I think it's just they very centralized and very isolated to their areas, and there's very little interaction on a regular basis, you know. And I think that you know it's like white South Afrikaners. I mean, I have a couple of brewers that I don't like. So it's not I hate all people. Let's be honest. I
Right.
don't have a problem. I don't have a specific group of people. I find everybody interesting, and the, the thing that I do sort of like is isolationists, not isolationists, nationalism. I mean,
Hmm.
believing that your language and your history and your religion and conservatism and those kinds of things are important. I think that's something the left is I, I don't know if you can actually call it, but you could probably call it a religion, you know, and a bit of a nutty religion, but you could probably call it a cultism or a religion that they follow, um, except for the fact that George Soros basically pays most of them to go to all the rallies and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, do you know
But
what the difference between the left and the right is in this regard?
but I don't actually understand it. I try and wrap my head around this, and because I was liberal, I was brought up liberal. Like I mean, we lived in Hillbrow, in the flats
Mm,
in Hillbrow. Um, Now, when I say that, the people look at you funny because they look at what Hillbrow looks like now. But back then, that it was government housing. There were strict rules. You weren't allowed to have more than six people in the flats. You know, there was rules and regulations, and you got kicked out. There was a waiting list, and you got kicked out if you didn't follow these rules. And
mhm.
I mean, I don't come from a victimhood family with a victimhood mentality. I mean, my mom and dad. Um, lost everything and started over and over and over a bunch of times, and eventually they moved to Belize in Central America, and everybody's like, "Oh, your parents live in the Caribbean, lovely." But I mean, they were working their asses off. I mean, my dad had a construction company. He had shares in a realtor company, which they eventually gave him because he was like the top salesperson for that region in Belize and so on. So you know, I come from a hardworking family,
Mm,
and they're not. I mean, that my mom's always been studying, always been learning new things, not going to universities and stuff like that, but she's always been pushing us to educate ourselves, and my dad's like yeah, he's also, but on on another level, he was grooming us to be able to do everything ourselves. It was like, oh, you want a swimming pool, you dig the hole for the swimming pool, you know. You want a flat outside the house, we're converting the garage and you are doing all the construction yourself, even though the door's a bit skew, the floor, if you hit the pool ball down, um, on the ground, it starts rolling at a speed of lightning because the tiling is done skew and stuff like that. But I mean, we can do everything. I mean, between my mom and my dad, I mean, I'm in IT. She's in accounting, so I can do accounting. My dad's he was also in IT, but he taught us how to. He went to go and buy these books, and back in the day, it was called DIY books or something like that.
Mm.
And you would buy a book, and then we would test it out. So so me and my brothers are very handy, which is a good thing in some situations, but a very bad thing if people know that you can do stuff because they do abuse you.
Well, yeah, well, that's why you don't tell them. So, in my area in Joburg, there's no water, and there's always power trips and whatever the case might be. I often maybe sometimes feel a bit sorry for people. I'm like, listen, I tell my wife, she would just tell them like we have a borehole where they can just come, and she's like, over my dead body, are you going to tell anyone anything about what we have or don't have? Because there's going to be a never-ending stream of people who come here and know where you live and all that sort of stuff. And I think she's right, to be honest. Like I'm the soft guy in this household. People think I'm like some hardcore hardened person, but no. But yes, I understand what you mean.
Anti-feminist.
Yeah. Well, I am that. Um,
Yeah. What? First
yeah,
wave, second wave, or third wave?
all of it.
Totally agree with you there.
Women shouldn't vote because they have far more important things to do.
Well, if you look at the history of that, I mean, most women didn't want to vote
Correct.
because back in
It's
the
all
day when
agitated by communists. Sorry to interrupt
it
you,
was
but
she
all these
was a
things,
she
right?
was a communist, yeah.
All these things were like, oh, the people fought for their rights. Bullshit. It was like a minority of communists who did it. Go to
Yeah.
anything in history. It's like a minority of radical revolutionaries who want it and force it upon everyone else. Women didn't
Now,
care about the votes.
me and my daughter have a lot of arguments about because I've been training her. So she
Training
because
her.
let's be very clear about history. So the history
Yeah,
that she gets from the school and from the books isn't the actual history that happens.
yeah,
So
yeah,
then I would say to her that because you don't want to screw around with them before they go and write exams. So and then you're like, okay, she goes through the history and what she's learned and what she's going to write about, and this is what she's going to write, and choose the topic and all and what is available in schools. And then I say, okay, well, go write it as you learned it, and then when you come back, I'll tell you the truth of what really happened, or you go do the research. But if I want to piss her off, all I need to do is say Andrew Tate. It's like, and she goes berserk and she goes nuts until I told her, just go and sit down and listen to what this guy says, because to be dead honest, what first wave feminism, but they didn't want to, women didn't want to vote because, and the reason they weren't allowed, well, it wasn't that they weren't allowed to vote, they didn't want to vote because they had to vote about wars, and
mm,
they had to then decide to send their sons and husbands to war, which is, I mean, that's the realism. I mean, I wouldn't want to make that decision if I was a mother or father. I mean, I wouldn't want to send my daughter to a war, that kind of thing. Second wave feminism, the guy that explained it the best was and entering the workforce. The banking thing I don't have a actual, and the property thing I don't actually have a argument for, but the woman that owns the most property is the Queen of England. So
yeah,
that, and there were people that owned property, but it was things like women products and cycles, that they had specific cycles, and there weren't toilets in the working place, and the most of your jobs were hardworking, digging in coal mines and stuff like that, which women didn't want to do, still don't want to do. I mean, they're
correct.
not part of the They're not part of the draft. They're not part of any of those things. So there's a big movement of women that are now trying to get, and this is the thing. I mean, I think in the right about the 1930s odd, before the Second World War, you were able to, as a dad, support the family, have a car type thing. I don't know if it's a was Ford there yet. I don't know, but
Yep.
round about there, you were able as a husband to have four kids, all in a nice school, in a nice neighborhood, close to the school, with a park that is safe. Now, at the moment, I mean, I earn a very good salary. My wife's a registered nurse. I would love. She works half day because I want her
Mhm.
to be able to decide whether I want to. She doesn't want to sit at home and do nothing. And to be there honest, at the moment, we can't afford it to sit at home and do nothing. But I would have liked her to have that option. And I think feminism took that away from women, that option. And
Yep.
my daughter walked into the matric farewell the other day, and the teacher said something because she wants to go and study mental health or psychiatry or something, probably because of me, the father. I had some. She wants to understand me better. I don't know why. And the, the she short of saying that, or you couldn't hear her saying anything else except then she wants to become a housewife,
Right.
and that became the topic of why my kid was upset about this woman not stating that she wants to go to Stellenbosch University. She wants to go and study psychology, and then she wants to get married, stay, and become a housewife. It's turned into something that is totally um, seen as by the young crowd um, as something that's bad. And I mean, I really feel sorry for people that that are housewives. And if I could, I would have my wife stay at home if she wanted to, but I would want her to have the option. So yeah, and that's what feminism brought to us.
Well, I think,
All the
yeah.
luxuries and none of the accountability.
I mean, no, but look at the sort of deeper aspects of it, right? So, in the early 20th century, we had something called the gold standard, right? So money was backed up by
Yes.
gold, and that determined the value of things in the world. So, if you look
Yeah.
at the price of a car in 1920 and the price of a car now, it's more expensive even with inflation adjusted, but only because money has become cheaper because we're off the gold standard.
Worthless. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, quite. So, and so what sort of happened to a large degree is I think states around the world got off the gold standard after World War II. And okay, how do we fund government? Okay, we could go into debt, but wouldn't it be nice if instead of just taxing the man of the household, we can tax both people in the household,
Yeah.
right? So we
They
have
say
a,
the
a
CIA had a big thing involved in
yeah,
that.
like I don't know
Mm.
if it's a psyop or not. I don't know. But for
Well,
example, Edward Bernays was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, and Edward
yes.
Bernays was very famous for doing propaganda for World War II. And when he came, and then after the war, he did propaganda to make women equal. So he had women smoking. He made marketing for women having their own
Wasn't he the
credit
guy that did
cards.
the diamonds? Wasn't he the guy that did
Um,
for the beers that
I,
did the
I think
diamonds
so.
as
Yes,
well? So
correct.
you didn't you used to have just a normal ring for marriage, and now you had to have an engagement ring with a Moose diamond and whatever
I
in
think
it.
so. Yeah. But
Yeah. So
ultimately, what had happened is that I think as a Western society, there's a malaise around the fact that we have become economic cogs in the economy rather than
yeah.
human beings who want a future for their children. So now you have the rise of daycare, then you have the rise of all these other things that matter
Mm.
because life is so fucking boring. right?
Yeah.
And like I got three children. Like I mean, they go to creche, they got friends. Like I'm not arguing against these things, but we can see how when money becomes cheaper, there's more stuff to spend,
Mm. And
and people just create stuff out of nowhere.
yeah, the irony is I might be saying something that a lot of people might disagree with or not be happy with, but I did a video. So my 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 pseudo name on all my or whatever is Joe Blumen,
Hmm.
and so on my channel, I think about 7 years back, I made a video about um, uh, Putin being being busy buying up all the gold,
Okay.
and I think it's about 7 years back and 8 years back, and I was like, something seriously happening here because he's doing that to stabilize their currency, and with Brits starting because Thabo Mbeki is he's a racist and he did make some racist comments, but he's still, in my view, the best president because I didn't know a lot of the white presidents, so I can't compare him to the white president, but in my view, he was an economist and he did what was best for the country, or he put the country first, and and so forth. And he was one of the architects of Brits. And the other thing as well, when the war started with the Ukraine, is that all these people, uh, what, not doxing, what do they call it? Um, Sanctions against Russia.
Hmm.
And it was like, how quickly did the Russian currency bounce back? I mean, it was ridiculous. It was like nothing happened. It's America. There was like nothing America did that with the sanctions. And in actual fact, that the only thing it did is it drove them into the hands of India, who then created a currency, and they then sold um, Russia's oil and gases to Europe at a
Hmm.
premium, and they drove them into China's hands. And the other day they came out, and China literally hit gold. They literally found um, piece of land where they are now delving for gold, which is problematic for the rest of the world. Because if you look at the petrodollar, then there's nothing backing it except for the fact that we're trading in the US dollar, and that's where it gets its strength from. They don't even know when's the last time they audited the Fed, and they don't even know how much gold they have in there. So yeah, sorry, I might be talking too much. I said I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions and stuff like that, but yeah,
That's
I have
fine.
a lot of
That's the point
I
of
have
it.
a lot of stuff in my brain, and yeah, finding that's ironic. A lot of my friends used to call me a conspiracy theorist, and it's strange about if 10 to 10 to 5 years later you're getting guys like Alex Jones and stuff, and everything he said is being proven true, and all these kinds of things. But yeah, you don't hear them apologize for saying that you were a conspiracy theorist. Then they jump on the bandwagon and they sit and they make videos about how they said it 10, 20 years back. So
Yeah, I know the feeling. I mean, I made comment and videos and the interviews. Like I said, BE like 15 years ago. Like BE kills guys. Like it's killing people
yeah,
right now because they're stealing all the money, taking away from public services, etc. And then I was called a racist, and now Tembisa Hospital happens. And guys, I've been telling you this has been happening for so many years by all the people that you call majestic and who locked us down during COVID and all. Like I mean. And no one calls these journalists racist today. It's like, oh no, it's factual because News 24 says it. No, no, it was factual way before News 24 said it, and you shut it down on
yeah.
purpose, or you tried to at least.
And the
So yeah,
documents
I
were
know the
out there.
feeling.
The
Yeah,
documents
well,
were out there.
way out there, way out there. So
And
I'm
that,
not a
so
conspiracy theorist because I think that it takes away mental energy for stuff that actually matters.
yeah.
But I am interested in finding out how things work. And I, how can I explain this? It's not a conspiracy theory just because the mainstream media says it is, right? There
Mm.
are things that happen. You look at incentives, you look at power structures, you look at geopolitical realism. A lot of things make sense if you understand the underlying behavior,
Well, if you look
psychological
up,
or geo.
if you look at
Mhm.
apartheid, I mean,
Mm.
the the SABC was owned by the state, so the propaganda was there.
Well, it
Germany, it
still
was
is,
the
man.
same thing. So
It still
now
is,
everybody's
Rudy.
getting upset because News 24 is being used as a as a mouthpiece for the ANC. You know, it's
Yeah,
it's always been happening. It's not
of
something
course.
new.
It's a
I
tale as
mean,
old as time.
what's that
Mm.
Russian guy that he split to America? Um, and he said that 90% of the budget of um, the Russian, what do you call them? Like the ops guys, the CIA type. Um,
Wagner Group,
s-
Wagner.
no. No, he was a professor in the 80s or something like that, and he was talking about how they would write a little um, uh, op-ed in an Indian newspaper, and then use that as and get somebody to write the op-ed in the UK newspaper, and then use that in America as a source of news. And he was
Right.
saying everybody was thinking, yeah, all this budget was going to James Bond type things, and training all double O sevens and stuff like that. But it wasn't. He said 90% of the money went to disinformation
Yeah,
from the Soviet Union. And that
yeah.
I mean, so it's very powerful.
So
So
I have one conspiracy. My one conspiracy is that Russia and China are fully funding the green climate change stuff.
you reckon?
Yeah, on purpose, because it doesn't allow the Europeans and Americans to exploit their natural resources, and they have to buy it from the Russian, the Chinese, the Saudis, that sort of stuff. It will make perfect sense, and I would do the same thing, right? If
I actually I've
Greta
never thought
Thunberg
about it.
works for Vladimir Putin.
I've never actually thought about it that way, but it does make sense.
Makes perfect
And
sense, and I
if you
would
look
do the
at, I
same.
think if
Mm,
you look at the biggest exporter of, I don't know what America exports, but China's now gone and given all the equipment to, I think, Argentina to or Brazil to become a competitor. It's a beans or some crap like that. I can't remember. That they've now kitted out. So they're starting to kit out the whole world to cut out America from all its exports. So
I mean, just think
and
about it, right? Like we know the German economy is fake. It was all built on cheap Russian gas because the Germans
yes,
said, "Oh, we're going to shut down nuclear energy. We're not going to." Okay, they built coal, but so once that Russian gas gets switched off through sanctions or whatever the case might be, the German economy is nowhere to be found. Like it was all bullshit for the
yeah,
most part. So if I was Russia, how can I enforce the reliance of the German industrial sector on Russian gas? I would basically make all the propaganda available to say don't exploit your natural resources because you're killing penguins in the Arctic Circle or something.
it does make a lot of sense, eh?
Yeah, that's my
I mean,
conspiracy. I'm sticking to it.
It's like Australia. Australia having to now restart up all their coal mines. I mean, they got a grade coal. I mean,
Yeah,
I think our coal rating is like 3, and their coal rating is 1. I mean, they got the best coal in the world. They shut down the coal mines and shut down the coal power stations. Now they have to start them all up, and they haven't been maintaining the stuff. And now they looked at the budget of maintaining it. And I don't know how many billions it's going to cost for them to
yeah.
start up the new coal mines. So yeah, yeah, it's quite interesting. But I've never thought of it that way. Eh?
Yeah, that
that would
makes
be a
sense.
quite an interesting way of 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 getting rid of the guys.
And as John Jarvis says, Trump opened the way to drill a hell lot of fossil fuel assets in America because Trump
Yeah.
understands America
Yes.
first. We can't rely on these other parties because what America has
Correct.
done, correct, inadvertently or on purpose, is to actually make China a superpower. Right? It
Yes.
allowed Kissinger went in there. It allowed open access to American products. It allowed them to join the World Trade Organization, and the Chinese, God bless them, they work hard, but they're not innovative. So they just copy and they
Yeah.
copy and they copy and they copy. And in essence, you offshore all the manufacturing to China because it's cheaper, but they keep all your IP. So they can make a better iPhone. Okay, they still make iPhones, but they can make a better electric car than Tesla. They can make a
Yeah.
better solar panel than anyone else in the world. They can make something much better because they've had years of stealing the IP of it from the Americans, from the innovators.
Yeah, well,
So,
Israel was stealing from them as well, so we can't just blame us.
no, but can't they steal from it?
Nuclear stuff was stolen from by Israel from America. So yeah, everybody's stealing from
Hmm?
everybody.
Oh, of course,
Yeah,
of course. No,
but if you
there's
look at
no
our
trend.
steel, if you look at what happened in 2010 when we had the soccer World Cup, we didn't have enough cement, we didn't have enough steel. So basically, they said, okay, well, no more import taxes for that. So we imported uh, cement from Pakistan and um, uh, China. We did the whole steel thing, and they just never closed that loop. And
Mm,
then a couple of years back, PPC basically went bankrupt, and the government had to help them out. What's that? ESCO, or is it ISCO or ESCO? Can't remember their name. They went belly up, So a lot of the steel manufacturing companies went bankrupt, and because of stupid policies that just
mm.
weren't ever corrected, stuff like that. Um, yeah.
So
So,
I
but
just
I
want
think
to answer.
China
Yeah.
would be good if they if they take over South Africa. At
Well,
least
would
we'll
that?
have electricity the whole time.
I mean, they shoot corrupt politicians, and the trains run on time. Like I don't know what's the downside to any of this. I just want to answer a few questions from the chat because we're already almost an hour in. So someone asked J-Man ask me if climate change is a psyop, and I think it is. I
Yeah,
think
it
it's
is.
completely fake. It
Yeah,
always has been fake
it,
science. The science was always uh, incorrect.
yeah.
The fact that billions of dollars have been spent on it by corrupt billionaires is more to the effect that it is bullshit. And I think it is a way to ensure that countries can't exploit the natural resources and have to rely on someone else to do it.
Well, and not just that, but also causing divide and conquer. So you have a
Sorry,
bunch of
really,
people
just
saying,
1 second.
"Should I switch off my camera?"
No, sorry, someone just came in to ask me something. I'm back.
Are you back? Yeah.
Yes.
So the divide and conquer. I mean, what's the biggest division at the moment? Since it's now liberalism versus conservatism, and now you get a lot of liberals moving over to the conservative side, and you got climate change, which is you got the climate change nuts, and then you've got so it's all about stealing money at the end of the day, and I think we got a bunch of money for climate change and doing that, and we can't even we can't even get our coal mines or our coal power stations to work properly. So I wonder how much of that money went into people's pockets. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a psyop. The question is, who is behind the psyop?
Well, I
Um,
think it's people that hate civilization, right? So if it's a country, if it's Russia and China putting it on Western countries, I completely understand it, and I
yeah,
can accept that they're
I would
doing
do the
that.
same.
I
I
would do
would do the
exactly the
same.
same. If it's someone like George Soros, which it is, he obviously hates civilization and he doesn't want
Yeah,
poor black people in Africa to have reliable baseload energy to for them to progress or to advance. And also it's about control. I mean, if you can control
mm,
energy, which is like the basis of human life. I mean, human life really started when energy became abundant, which was the industrial revolution. Before that,
yeah,
we never grew as a population. We didn't do many of the things. We couldn't afford to evolve technologically because there was no energy to do any of that stuff. So in
yeah. What's
essence,
that?
that's a
What's
combination
that guy
of a
that
variety of things.
what's the guy that was it called Prohibition, where they stopped liquor sales
Yeah,
in America.
yeah,
And I was watching a documentary about him being this rich guy being the force behind um, causing that, because at that stage the cars that were created were able to run on normal sugar that could make alcohol and all kinds of things, and he was into the world thing, so he kept that going until now. It sounds like a conspiracy theory, but if you go and look at the timelines, if you go and look at the people involved at the end of the day, you know um, it makes sense. And it might be the next thing that comes out. It's probably the same thing that we have with the climate change stuff as well. Um, like Donald Trump says, we're killing the birds.
yeah. Maybe they just
Yeah,
hate birds, right? but
yeah,
but I mean, Joe Rogan has spoken about this quite a bit. Like Henry Ford. Um, I don't know if it was Henry. They were making cars out of hemp, and hemp is a sort of very sturdy, starchy plant. And
yeah,
the one guy owned steel, and so he basically lobbied the government to ban hemp because hemp was a byproduct of marijuana, which made like black people crazy and like let them rape women or something, right? But it was actually to protect the industry that he was creating and the industry that he controlled entirely. So a lot of these decisions are just completely fake, right?
yeah.
It was run by the elites for the elites. That's it. There's no underlying reason for it other than a decision was made by the elite at some stage in history to pursue this. And I think
But
the
the thing
climate
is,
change
we
stuff,
think it
you
only
know,
started with Zuma.
oh,
But
oh
if you
geez.
go back, if you go back, I mean, these things have been happening for years and years. Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
So
and Zuma was the first populist in South
yeah,
Africa, if you think about it. And
yeah,
there was a color revolution against him by the Ramaphosa corporate NGO sector that took out Zuma. Okay, Zuma was used left and right. He wasn't like
yeah,
smart in that way,
yeah.
right? He was a pawn of his own making. But he was the first populist. He was like, I'm tired of this theoretical economics of Mbeki and this intellectualism. No, like we want a fucking Zulu chief to be the president of this country. And he ran it like a Zulu chief, which I don't think was fantastic, but he was a populist at heart, and to get rid of him, they had to do everything in their power. Remember, all the corporates came out with "Save South Africa," and then they had the bullshit like Gupta leaks, which weren't really leaks; that didn't really say anything for the most part. And it was all like that was a psyop. Like getting rid of Zuma was also like
Yeah.
a coordinated conspiracy. And it was a color revolution, like they did in Ukraine in 2014, like they did in Georgia, like they did
Yeah.
all over the world. So yeah, that's another conspiracy that I think is obviously true.
Yeah, definitely. So I see our
Anyway,
hour is up.
yeah, I'm afraid so, Meneer.
Yeah.
And we're
So
just getting warmed up.
we were just getting warmed up. Yeah. Well, maybe we chat soon again, eh?
Yeah, just make a booking. And for those who wish to book as well, just check the description of this video and in the chat, it's in there as well. Some people say it doesn't work, but people keep booking every day, so it does work.
No, it does
the
work.
Cal
Yeah. Yeah.
CAL.com link. Just click on that. But really, thank you. Do you want people to find you on other platforms?
Yeah. Well, they can find me at. Well, um, I'm on Twitter. I'm on Get all over the place. Just look for Joe Blumen. Joblue man with an extra N. Um, and you'll find me all over the place. So I'm on Instagram now for the. Teaching myself on TikTok and Instagram because I want to get onto these debates with these idiots that keep on popping up on the streams and stuff like that. So, but I'm on Instagram a lot, and I'm on Twitter, commenting, making problems, causing problems. Baiting people. So if you want to get part of a movement that upsets people, then follow me.
Very good.
Yeah, and
Very good.
thanks for the time.
The pleasure's all mine, really. Thank you for joining me. Thank you to all of you watching for joining me. And if you catch it afterwards, you can find this on YouTube and on Spotify as well. Have an excellent weekend, everyone. We will be
Che-
back next week with more so called ordinary people. Cheers.
Cheers.